The second last chapter of JJK is out, and speculation about a sequel is running rampant due to rumors about a major upcoming announcement. The fate of Master Tengen revealed, a character returns from the dead, a new mission for the sorcerers, and a whole bunch of other stuff, so let's talk about it right now. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy my JJK content, leave a quick like and comment right now for that YouTube algorithm. And if you don't want to miss my review of the final chapter of the entire series, do me a huge favor and subscribe right now and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications. You've stuck with my reviews for this long, and subscribing is completely free, so subscribe right now, don't miss my final review. Now in the last chapter, the fate of Yuta was finally revealed, and even though in the chapter before last, we were led to believe that something was wrong with him and that he might need urgent help, in the end it turned out that Yuta was fine and back inside his own body. Initially, when Yuta copied Kenjaku's technique and Rika didn't follow him into Gojo's body, he thought that by leaving his body, he lost his connection to her. However, Rika remained with Yuta's real body so that she can heal and sustain it using reverse curse technique with the help of Shoko. And when Kenjaku's curse technique burnt out and Yuta thought he was going to die, Rika was able to reconnect with him and bring him back inside his own body. I don't know the specifics of how that exactly worked, but that's what happened. After that mystery was answered, the chapter spent a lot of time going over the battle against Sukuna, what went right, what went wrong, what could have been done better, and so on. Maki in particular was determined to talk about how they could have defeated Sukuna more easily if they had implemented different strategies. But at the end of the day, the battle is over and Sukuna has been defeated, so rehashing all of that now isn't that important, at least in my opinion. The chapter ended with a discussion of the new shadow style, which is a secretive technique that only a select few people have been able to use over the course of history. The reason for this is that binding vows exist which restrict who can use the new shadow style. And over time, it stopped being beneficial to sorcerers, and it became a trade secret that could be used and abused by those who control it. One clan gained a monopoly over who can use new shadow style, and they recruited disciples and unreasonably enforced the binding vows upon them. Even though the new shadow style can be of great value to sorcerers without curse techniques, many died over the years because they never got the opportunity to learn the new shadow style. Those who monopolized it not only limit who can learn it, but they also made it so that their disciples cannot refuse a summons from them. And they have also been absorbing the lifespans of their disciples for their own gain. Up to this point, no one knew who the head of the new shadow style was, and until that head is removed, a new head cannot take its place. But thanks to information that seems to have come directly from Master Tengen, Mei was able to locate and liquidate the current head of the new Shadow Style clan. That head of the clan was actually plotting to take over the sorcerer world after the fall of the Zenin clan and the weakening of the other clans. But Mei put a stop to that by eliminating the head of the clan. As a result, the title of head was inherited by none other than Kusakabe, who is now the current head of the new Shadow Style. Since Kusakabe is the new top dog, he removed the binding vows that drained lifespan and restricted the use of new shadow style, so that issue has been resolved. Now, the new chapter is pretty weird, so I'm gonna give you guys a heads up on that right now. We start off with Megumi and Shoko visiting a grave, which turns out to be the resting place of the Fushiguro family. The two of them are paying their respects to Megumi's sister, Tsumiki. The fact that Tsumiki was killed by Sukuna using Megumi's own body was the major reason why Megumi had given himself over to despair and why he basically gave up on life until Yuji finally convinced him to fight back. To be honest, Gege definitely did poor Tsumiki dirty in this series, but her tragic life and death do serve to demonstrate that JJK is a series where characters die and stay dead. You definitely can't accuse Gege of being too scared to kill characters off, and Tsumiki is one example of that. After the visit to the grave, Megumi gets a call that sounds important because he says he's gonna get going right away. Meanwhile, Shoko apparently decides to suddenly quit smoking, which seemed a little bit out of nowhere, but honestly, it's a good life decision, so no complaints here. We then finally learn what happened to Master Tengen, which was probably the single biggest unresolved mystery remaining. Apparently, the previously consumed Master Tengen was found among Sukuna's remains after he was torn from Megumi's body. It seems that Tengen's barriers around Japan will remain in place as long as the remaining remnants of Sukuna are preserved, so the sorcerers will do that, and that is a huge relief, because those barriers are very important for keeping curses from taking over the world. That said, they do need to quickly implement additional contingencies and countermeasures because you never know when something unexpected could occur. Presumably, Tengen's cocoon is pretty volatile right now, so anything could happen. Gakuganji tells the younger sorcerers that they're still young and that they don't need to worry about this just yet. To me, this implies that the current situation is at least somewhat stable for the time being, but this also hints at some potential future complications down the line. Maybe years down the line, maybe even decades, but something could happen to throw off the balance yet again. We then cut to Maki, who confirms that the culling game has officially ended, but they still don't know what to do about the so-called incarnated types. Since the culling game was such a big part of the story, especially the part about the culling game being something you're stuck inside and can't escape, this reveal that the culling game just ended and it's no big deal kind of felt rushed and unsatisfying, at least to me. Anyway, Maki is talking to that sumo guy Mio and the old samurai guy Daido, who were both incarnated into the modern world as a result of the culling game. It's likely that Yuji and Hana will try to remove the cursed objects from the victims' bodies, implying that the incarnations will disappear and the people who had been born to these bodies originally will return. All the ancient incarnations are likely to be rounded up and exorcised from their vessels to return their bodies to their original owners. And Maki says that they can't make an exception for Mio and Daido just because they're friendly with the sorcerers. Nevertheless, it's clear that Maki does want to spare these guys because she tosses Daido a cursed tool katana and then she tells the two of them to go hide out in Tokyo. Even with the culling game finished, Tokyo will remain a sort of no-go zone for humans, so that is where all the curses throughout Japan will continue to gather. And that's the best place to hide out for incarnations who want to stay in the modern world. Daido is intrigued by the idea because that means he'll get to go fight a bunch of cursed spirits in Tokyo, but Mio doesn't like the idea since he loves sumo too much to sully it by fighting curses. Maki tells them to do whatever they want, the choice is theirs, but after this she won't be able to keep watching their backs. They'll be on their own from now on. Daido asks Maki to be there on the day the sorcerers decide to take him out because he wants to get a chance to cut her down. She just laughs as Mio randomly raises his arms and screams, "Sumo!" You know, regular Mio behavior. The chapter then cuts to Charles Bernard, the aspiring manga author and professional French guy who got caught up in the culling game and developed a unique curse technique. In case you forgot, he can summon a curse tool that is essentially a long spear with a pen at the tip. If he can draw his opponent's blood into the tip of the pen, he can mark his opponent with a manga panel, and this allows him to see into the future of his enemy. Basically, he can use this power to predict the opponent's next move, and the more of the opponent's blood he can draw into the pen, the further into the future he can see. In the present time, Charles is working on a manga in his office along with another guy who also seems to work in the industry. Charles says that magazines should remain physical because seeing a manuscript in print can provide valuable feedback for the author. He's basically just kind of venting to the other guy about the fact that every new author deserves a fair chance, including the chance to have their work printed next to a veteran author at least once. The other guy tells him to hurry up and finish the manga because the print shop won't wait around for some newbie's one-shot, and it won't even wait for the pros either. I'm not sure what exactly the purpose of this scene is. Like, is it supposed to imply that Charles is the one who wrote JJK, or is he writing a new manga, like maybe a sequel to JJK? We'll have to wait and see what happens in the final chapter because this chapter then jumps to Takaba. Takaba is sitting inside like a diner and talking to someone, and although that guy that he is talking to is dressed like a normal person, his hair looks exactly like Geto's or Kenjaku's. That said, we never actually get to see his face, so we are left wondering what exactly is going on here. The two of them are talking about their comedy routine and which jokes are appropriate and which are not, so we have to wonder whether the real Kenjaku managed to somehow cheat death and start doing comedy with Takaba because it was so much fun, or whether Takaba just found like a Kenjaku lookalike because he thought their routine was so great that he wanted to recreate it for his act, or whether this guy is just an illusion that Takaba managed to conjure up with his curse technique. We know that Takaba's curse technique is extremely powerful and was said to even be able to rival Gojo's. So maybe he was able to conjure up a permanent illusion or something along those lines. What do you guys think? Did Kenny cheat death? Is this just a lookalike? Or is it an illusion brought to life by Takaba? Don't forget to share your thoughts down in the comments below. Then we see Rin Amai apologizing to some guy he bullied in the past in a scene that parodies the scene where Gojo lets Geto walk away instead of destroying him. The guy doesn't really accept the apology and he just walks away, which leaves Rin disappointed because he wanted to fix things and he wasn't able to. We then learn that the charges against Higuruma have been dropped and he will not be prosecuted for killing a bunch of people during the culling game. Instead, he's gonna be worked to the bone as a sorcerer. So I guess because he took the side of the sorcerers in the end and helped them defeat Sukuna, and because he is remorseful and will work to help the sorcerers from now on, his sins have been forgiven. Now, is that really justice? Probably not, since Higuruma is believed to have killed like 20 people during the culling game. But I guess that was an extraordinary circumstance, and we can assume that because of his personality and past, Higuruma might have primarily targeted bad guys anyway. I don't know, this rehabilitating of Higuruma doesn't feel fully complete yet in my opinion, but what can you do? The chapter then shows us a cute scene between Megumi and Hana, where Angel says to Hana in front of Megumi that Megumi must know she has a crush on him. This embarrasses Hana, but Megumi doesn't seem uncomfortable at all by the situation. Instead, he says that he wants to take responsibility for the fact that Hana lost her arm when Sukuna tricked her into thinking he was Megumi and he wanted to hug her, then proceeded to bite her arm off. Megumi offers to be her right hand from now on, which results in Hana giving him an adoring look. It's only when Hana mentions wedding bells that Megumi finally feels uncomfortable and runs off to do a mission, but promises to talk to her later. So it looks like we finally have a basically confirmed ship in JJK, Megumi x Hana Kurusu. Then, out of nowhere, we get a scene where a woman walks into her apartment and thinks her fiancé is cursed because his face looks all mutated. His eyes are massive and taking up most of his face, and funnily enough, she describes this as looking like a character from a 90s anime. If you're an anime boomer like me, then you definitely get this reference. The sorcerers begin investigating, initially also believing that the 26-year-old male must be cursed. However, when Megumi, Yuji, and Nobara investigate, the fiancé's face looks perfectly normal. The guy is just abnormally buff because he wrestled in school and likes to hit the gym. The sorcerers conclude that the one who is actually cursed is the woman, and the curse is the thing that is making her see her fiancé differently even though he actually looks perfectly normal. The sorcerers determine that no cursed spirit is actually possessing the woman, so this has to be the work of a curse user. That said, there is no intent to kill here, so it could be an awakened player who made it through the culling game and is now essentially harassing this woman but doesn't want to seriously harm her. Since the only thing that's happening to the woman is that she sees her fiancé as having a goofy appearance, it's quite possible that the cursed user likes this woman and wants her to break up with her fiancé so he can be with her instead. Yuji says that such a case will be a piece of cake for the three of them, and the narration on the final page tells us that the next chapter is the final chapter where the gun fires on their last mission. We also learned that there will be a JJK center color spread in the next issue of Shonen Jump, and possibly a big announcement about JJK. Now, the early sources differ on this. Some only mention the color spread, and others mention a color spread and a big announcement. Obviously, the idea that there might be a major announcement immediately ignited speculation that we might be getting a JJK sequel, prequel, spin-off, movie, or some sort of other continuation of the story. I definitely hope that is the case because JJK takes place in such an interesting world. It is such a popular manga that ended pretty early, only 271 chapters, and there is so much potential for more content here. What do you guys think? Are we getting a sequel or some other type of continuation? Now, personally, I did have some issues with this second last chapter. The ending of the culling game seemed really sudden and not fully explained. Some of the stuff that was featured in the chapter, like the Rin Amai and Charles Bernard stuff, felt kind of random and just like thrown in there. And I did feel that the case of the cursed fiancé seemed like a pretty underwhelming final mission for our heroes. I don't want to jump to conclusions, and I do want to give the final chapter a chance to wrap things up in the best possible way, but I have to admit that I understand where the people who are criticizing this ending are coming from. Real quick, how many people watching this right now like the ending so far, and how many think it's bad? Write good or bad down in the comments so I can see where the community stands, and feel free to add exactly why you think the ending is either good or bad. Now, in terms of the final chapter, I do hope that we get to see some more big questions addressed. Like, what will happen to the wider world of JJK in the aftermath of the culling game? Will Tengen need a new host? Is Gojo coming back as a Shinto god like his ancestor Sugawara no Michizane? Hopefully we can get a satisfying final chapter, and hopefully we will get some sort of big sequel announcement. I think we can all agree that more JJK content would be a good thing. If you're looking for another epic video to watch next, check out this video, link on screen and in the description. If you enjoyed this video, leave a quick like to let me know. And if you don't want to miss my review of the final JJK chapter, definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications right now.